father's mother died about 2 years after he was born. And one thing that I learned close to his death was that he always believed that he was the cause of his mother's death. And he carried that, you know, that burden with him.
It was during the war, and they were in the house, they were shooting outside, and she told him, don't go outside, and he and Tilly ran outside, and she ran out to get them and was wounded. And she came back, and that's when she got sick and was laying, and she was invalided after that.
Oh gosh, I didn't know that either.
The father was in the army, and it was cold, bitter cold, they were out of food, and they didn't have anything, the mother was dying. And she asked for the Shabbos candles. Ray should bring the Shabbos candles to her. She's going to light the candles. And there's a knock on the door. And Ray opens the door, and there stands this man that she doesn't know, all covered with snow and fur in an army uniform. Got scared. It was her father. The army train was going through their town, and he jumped off because he wanted to see his family. So he was AWOL. So he walks into the house. He walks over to the bed where his wife is lying. She took one look at him, turned her head to the wall, and died. It's as if she was waiting for someone to come and take care of the children so she could let go. That's how Ray described it. And then Ray had the problem of what to do with him.
She got a job in a jam factory.
And she was like 14 years old, and they said they were hiring no Jews and you had to be 18 years old. So she dressed up in her mother's clothes, and she goes down, she's standing in line for the job, and she says she's terrified because she's a kid, and she says, they'll find out I'm a Jew, they'll kill me, you know. So she gets to the head of the line, and the guy there knew her father and recognized her, and he says, come with me. And she thought, oh, that's it. They're going to shoot me. They're going to shoot me. He put her on a machine.
And she would steal jam and bring it home for the kids. And you know, you could only imagine what she must have done to get the jelly.
She said every night when she walked out with these jam bottles, she was terrified that one would drop or clink in the, you know. And then she'd come home and they would get like pennies for these jam. And it was Tilly's obligation to buy food for the family. And what they could buy was maybe a potato or something that they would share. And remember the sweet potato story?
No.
One time she comes home with a sweet potato and it's rotten. And Ray makes them eat it anyway because they have to eat, you know. And Teddy, they were already in their 80s, and Teddy was still hocking her a China about the sour sweet potato, the rotten sweet potato.
He said that his father, and of course he, were not going to be admitted into the States because his father couldn't write. He was illiterate and couldn't even write an X for his name. And that his older sister's Lizzie in this case, I guess she had a boyfriend in the Navy or something, and they came and prevailed on the immigration people to allow Dad and his father through. My mother's parents, I knew both of them. I don't know anything about mother growing up. We do know that when Fanny got married, she was 23.
And Dad was
And
16
Dad
or
was
17.
16 or 17. And they always, throughout their lives, and even on their gravestones, said they were the same age. Herman was born in 26. And so he was the oldest. I was the second. I was born in 33. Leon was the third. And I don't know when he was born.
39, but you don't even remember that I lived there.
I don't.
Uncle Joe was talking to my grandfather David, and I was in the bedroom looking for marbles with a match under the couch. Very, very bright thing to do. And the couch,
Gifted child.
And the couch started smoldering. So I ran in. It was almost typical of a comic. Uncle Joe, can't you see I'm talking to your grandfather? But Uncle Joe, I told you, I'm talking to your grandfather. Uncle Joe, the couch is on fire. And I remember they ran in with a lot of water. Nothing ever happened to me. I didn't find my marbles. I'm sure the couch was ruined.
Our parents never wanted to show favoritism between the boys. So when it came time for a birthday or whatever it is, we'd all get the same gift.
Every birthday.
Every birthday we get the same gift. If it were pajamas, the difference might be mine might be blue, his would be red, but it was exactly the same price. So we had so much fun with that when we got to be older that we carried on the tradition. So every year we would celebrate, we would take turns buying, and each of us would get exactly the same thing for the birthday. So this is one of the last.
Yeah.
But you forgot one thing. When Dad and Mom used to buy us gifts, we had Old Spice deodorant, aftershave lotion. We cornered the market on Old Spice. I must have had 20 bottles because when he would get one, I'd get one. My dad's sister Rosie was very wealthy. And I used to fantasize that they're teaching me the value of money by, maybe Dad really isn't driving a truck. This was when I was younger. Maybe he just goes off somewhere. And, but they're teaching me how the value of money. And it used to be a fantasy that we were really rich, but we weren't, and there was no fantasy. And, I always thought that we grew up middle class until I was at UCLA taking a class in sociology about the different class segments. And because your parents can't read and your father drives a truck, we were barely middle lower class because they broke it into 9 groups. I'm thinking, oh my God, I always thought I was up here. I was really way down here. It was like a shock, but I didn't even know that until I was in college.
Teddy would pinch a penny. I mean, he would. And I asked him one time when he was old, there was something he used to buy. He was not going to buy. It was too much money. I says, Teddy, what are you saving the money for? You got money. He says, I'm saving it up so the boys will have a start. At that time, Herman was a doctor, Marty was a lawyer, and he owned his own business.
I was in New York, and I went to Ellis Island and did the tour, and it was, for me, emotional. I'm going through the halls and the steps and looking at the pictures, and actually there was a trunk with somebody's name Sturman, but it wasn't our family, but there was a trunk there. And I'm getting teary-eyed, and I come back home, and actually we're sitting around this table, as we often did, and I'm telling Dad, how emotional I was when I was at Ellis Island, and I saw where he came in and where he walked through and where it was examined. He says, what are you talking about? He says, I came through Canada. I wasted all that emotion.
I remember why I thought Marty was the favorite. Marty fixed my mother's electrical outlet and left. Okay, it's fixed. And he left, and I'm whatever, 8, 9, 7, whatever I was. Oh, it's fixed. Okay, so Ma goes to plug into the outlet. She plugs in something, and fire comes shooting out of the electrical outlet. Fire. And it scorched the walls. So I think Marty thought I was going to do the plugging in.
I was an electrician, really.
That's why he became a lawyer. And he never handled electrical cases. It was an important thing.
Talking about your parents, they laughed when that happened.
They did, yeah. It was
they
very
laughed.
dangerous.
I know, I mean, you would have think they would have been furious. They laughed.
Yeah, we had a big scorched wallpaper.
But Dad was totally inept when it came to anything mechanical. As long as he lived, one of us had to go and change the clocks when daylight savings came on or off.
I was 14 and he was 18, and we were in Union Pier, Michigan. He and Jerry came on. Jerry Roach and he were about to go into the Army. They had 3 weeks before the draft was calling them, and this was their vacation. I met him there, and we talked to each other. And I was going with this boy in Union Pier, and he wanted to kiss me, and I wasn't sure if I should let him. But Jerry Roach was reading a Freud book, so I figured they must know something, these guys, They must be. So I said, do you think I should let him kiss me? And they didn't give a damn. Marty, so Herman said, yeah, sure. I says, can I write to you in the Army? I said, yeah, he doesn't write to me. So I wrote to him a couple of times, then you lose interest, you didn't know what to say. He wrote back a couple of times, and then it ended. And then when I was in my first year of college, I was at a college dance, and he was there, and he walked over, and he said hello, and we recognized each other. And he said, can I call you sometime? I said, yeah, sure. And I'm dancing with my boyfriend, Sure, yeah. So he says, are you still at 4411, whatever it was, Adams Street? He said, you remembered my address? You know, I was really impressed. And then we started dating. He was solid. You could depend on him. I just loved him. And he loved me back, you know, it was nice. So, I remember telling my mother, I think I'm falling in love. And she says, yeah, who? I says, his name is Herman Sturman. She says, oh, you're always joking.
His name really was, what's his birth name was Chaim Getzel Sturman, and he changed it to Herman Sturman.
I asked my mother-in-law one time, I said, how come you named him Herman Sturman? And she says, I didn't name him Herman Sturman. I named him Chaim Getzel. He didn't like it.
Thinking back, it was really a good life. We learned good values. We learned the value of things. We learned the value of people, friends. What's most important to me now is really is family. People that you can rely upon. I really feel since I've retired, I've been doing a lot of things. I don't sit around and watch television. I take classes. I'm busy. And I think learning new things is really important to me now. You realize the time frame that you have that's left. You don't know what it is, but you know you're past the 50% mark. And so that's important to me, making the most out of everything.
Health is important too. I think about, Hermie. I have to say that Hermie and Gladys, two incredible people. And Gladys, I love Gladys.
Me too.
Wow.